Sorpotel was in Goa. We used to slaughter a piglet in Goa. A piglet that weighed about 8 kilos, probably, little one. And there used to be a certain man, my mother used to bring somebody to slaughter the piglet. Now, when you slaughter a piglet, it sounds a bit cruel, but you insert a knife in the throat. You stand over it almost, put it over a wall, and you slit the throat and collect the blood whilst the piglet is still alive. Add a bit of salt to your pan, and as the piglet regurgitates all that blood coming out, you keep stirring it. Salt is added so it won't coagulate. So you stir it and you stir it and you stir it. When it's got rid of all the blood, keep it aside, and that blood is used in sorpotel. So then you cut up your meat and all the rest of it. So that's my earliest memories of sorpotel. Sorpotel meant that my mother made. We had to finish cooking all of the pig in different dishes. Sorpotel, cabidel, I don't know what else, all the dels you could think of, because we didn't have a fridge in those days in Goa. Goa didn't have fridges. It was, say, 70, 80 years ago, and we were pretty well off, even though we lived in a rented place. If it was available, we would have had it. But my mother cooked on 3 stones like everybody else in the kitchen, and marvelous dishes came out of that. Anyway, to come back to the sorpotel, that blood. Nowadays we can't get pig's blood, obviously. So what I do is I go to the grocery shop, Mercadona, buy pieces of pork with a bit of fat on it. Must have a bit of fat. That's tasty. And you get what you call the panceta in Spanish, which is like bacon, not quite bacon. It's, I don't know what you call it. You call it panceta. It's like bacon slices with fat on it. Bring them over. Pork liver, has to be pork liver, quite a bit of it. Like, if you like liver, and I like liver, say half a kilo of pork. So you've got your fat, you've got your lean, and you've got this liver. And you've got what I call the panceta, which also has a bit of fat in it. Remove the hard part of it. Cut it up into tiny bits and fry it in oil and salt. Fry it. Not too much, but fry it. You're ready. Put it aside. Oh, sorry, I said you should boil it first. Boil it in sufficient water with the peppercorns and salt. If you've got dhanias, seeds, also put it in the water. It's very good. Boil it all together, and a bit of salt. And pepper, as I said, peppercorns. Right, all ready. In about half an hour, take it out. You don't want it cooked completely. Get it out of the pot. Cut it up into bits, not very small. I don't like sorpotel in very tiny bits because it disintegrates in the gravy. You've got to have nice bits, not too big, not too small, say about a 1/4 inch pieces. Fry it in oil, all of it in oil. Remove it from the oil, put it aside, and now you start the process of cooking the sorpotel. Cooking the sorpotel means, well, it's got to cook for a long time because the meat must absorb all the spices. Got to use more spices. Well, lots of onions, say 2, 3, 4 onions. Red onions are best, not the white onions. Red onions are best. Cut them to tiny bits, fry it. You can add tomato as well. Cut up tomatoes, ginger and garlic. If you don't have ginger garlic paste, you have about 10 little garlic pieces, individuals, 10 at least, depending how big they are. A lot of garlic and a lot of ginger.
So the tomato, garlic, and ginger
Yes.
is in the frying process after you've
Yes,
boiled
but the ginger,
meat.
make a paste of it if you can.
Okay.
Ginger and garlic, and add it to this frying process. Finished frying, then you add the water that you removed, add it to this fried meat, and let it cook. Check for taste. Salt, vinegar, very important. The two main ingredients in sorpotel are chili and acidity. Those two. Chili means green chili, which you use in the frying if you can, but red chili powder. If sorpotel is not hot and acidic, it's not sorpotel. These are the two main things you've got to use. Of course, if you've got very special vinegar, that's best. But here we can't get special Goan vinegar, toddy vinegar. So I use, as a rule, apple cider vinegar for everything, because for me that's quite strong and it's healthy. And you've got to use a lot of it, always remembering sorpotel means hot and acid, two main ingredients. Then you keep adding according to the gravy that you've got in the meat. Remember, you've got to use a little bit of cinnamon powder, pepper, red chili powder, a little bit of jeera, a little bit of saffron, not too much because you don't want it yellow. And if you've got tomato paste in a tin or a tube, tomato paste, it's also good to add to it because it adds to the thickness.
And that's in the frying process?
No, in the cooking now.
Yeah,
where you add the water.
After you've boiled it.
After you boiled it, after you fried it.
Okay.
You add all this water into the pan, and you've got to make it quite a thickish consistency. So you add tomato paste as well. Now, when you add tomato paste, you've got to add a bit of sugar. Always, if you use a lot of tomato or a lot of paste, add half a teaspoon of sugar. Now, in your memory, you know what sorpotel should taste like. It should be nice and hot. It should have the taste of canela and all the spices mixed together. And that's it. And you keep to cook until you think your gravy is nice and thick and your meat has absorbed all the flavors. The longer you keep your sorpotel and keep warming it up again and again and again, the better your sorpotel.
Okay.
That's it, really.
Great. Now tell me, what does sorpotel mean?
I've no
Because
idea.
it's a Konkani name.
No idea.
And what is its significance in Goan?
No idea.
In Goan culture? Is it a flagship meal?
Yes, it is. Very much so. I think sorpotel, probably some derivation of Konkani or something, probably to say it's a mixture of everything.
Okay.
But it's the class dish. No feast is a feast without sorpotel or sannas, but we don't know how to make the
So it
sannas.
would be with at Christmas or at a feast.
Christmas, New Year's, a must.
And a wedding.
Wedding depends on the wedding. You have a big cake and you have your sweets, but in Goan tradition, yes, but depends on the Goans.
Okay. And
Depends.
what would sorpotel normally be eaten with? Would it be eaten with rice or biryani or pilau?
Always with rice like a pulao.
Or with sanas?
Pulao. Sannas, but I don't know how to make sannas. Sannas is ground rice, and you make little things, you steam them. You have a pot, and you have a container here, and you put that stuff in. A laborious process, but I don't know how to do it. It's steamed meat, not patties. It's quite thick and quite nice, actually. But in the olden days, sannas you used to have with toddy. Toddy is, you know what toddy is, that you get from a coconut palm. So that's how you do it, and that's what you eat sorpotel with sannas. Well, if you don't have sannas, then you've got your lovely rice, yellow rice, whatever you like to cook it with, not with chicken. Just make it yellow and nice with onions and tomatoes and all that. And you have the sorpotel, nice and thick. But the two main ingredients, hot and sour.
Okay, and how long does it take? It's a long process. It's like 3-4 hours to cook a sorpotel,
No,
right?
not really. The first part is a bit long-winded, but the longer you keep it, you cook it the next day, and you recook it the next day, it gets better and better. You stick it in the fridge, and that's your sorpotel for you.
Great. Any last statement you want to say before we close this video on sorpotel?
Oh, it goes back a long way, that's all. Goes back a long, long way. And well, no feast is a feast without sorpotel and arroz refugado, pulao. The two
Okay.
go together,
Great.
and that's it.
Thank you, Ma. Excellent. This is going into the food channel
As you like,
for the Cruises.
as you like. But that's how it is.
Yeah.